I am what scientists refer to as a mouth breather. And I'm not supposed to be. And neither are you, by the way. It definitely signals that I shouldn't be breathing into my mouth. You can live without food for weeks. You can live without water for days. But your breath, you can't go without it for more than just a few minutes. I fast-tracked this author and the world's leading expert on breath to come teach you and me everything we need to know. So get ready for more focus, less pain, better sleep, honestly, a better you. Oh, and I felt like it worked. And this is, again, I have so many elementary questions that I'm almost embarrassed to ask this one.
Oh, please do.
What coaching do you have for people that are so used to mouth breathing that breathing in and out of their nose is it just feels weird? And so they try it, but then they keep going back to the mouth breathing. How do you make this the new default, given the health benefits?
So there's two parts to it. There's always theory first, a little bit of theory. People have to understand about the importance of nose breathing. And in comparison to the mouth, the nose does all the work when it comes to breathing. And the second aspect of it then is breathing exercises. Gentle exercises, just for example, starting off with the two that we just did. And we also use a very simple tape around the mouth that's elasticated, that pulls the lips together. Oh, that's correct.
I have your tape.
That's the one.
I have
no samples here.
I'm going to put it on right now, everybody. Last night I taped we're going to get into mouth taping, but I literally...
See, you have to stretch it, Mel, about 30 or 40%. So It's only when you stretch it that you'll feel a tension.
Oh, I didn't even take off the sticky part. Okay. So everybody, it's like the shape of a O. Yep. And I stretch it
by about 30 to 40%.
I'm not too much strong. Okay. Like that?
Not too much, not too little. Maybe a little bit less.
Okay.
And you're just stretching it and then placing it surrounding the mouth. And the elasticated tension should be pulling the lips together. So it should be, you should feel some tension there.
I do.
So with children and teenagers, we very much use that as a training tool during wakefulness. So because kids are kids and they get distracted and they're watching television, they're on iPhone, the mouth is open.
Right.
But for some adults as well. So it can be a very helpful. So part of this is the training during the day. So if an adult has the mouth open and they forget about it, the tape will automatically remind them to breathe through the nose. And it's all about changing habits.
It definitely signals that I shouldn't be breathing into my mouth.
Having the mouth open. Yeah.
Well,
and then during sleep, when the person is comfortable with breathing through the nose and, in terms of their nose being congested, and bear in mind, the one thing about the nose is that the more we breathe through it, the better it works. But normally what happens is the nose gets stuffy. The person feels uncomfortable breathing through the nose. They switch to mouth breathing. And when they switch to mouth breathing, it increases their nasal stuffiness. So it's a vicious circle. So I would also say to people that when you first switch from mouth to nose breathing, remember this is the natural way to breathe, in and out through the nose. And even if you feel a slight air hunger or a slight feeling that you're not getting enough air, and when you're doing physical exercise, initially you might feel an increased sensation of breathlessness, stick with it. Slow down your intensity of movement in order to maintain nose breathing. Or in other words, only go as fast as you can while breathing through the nose. The benefits far outweigh the disadvantages. And the other aspect of it is, if you continue walking with your mouth closed, the body adjusts to it. And you then can do physical exercise with less ventilation. So it's almost as if you're training your body to do more with less.
There's so much to cover. I know that you recommend people try this tape on their mouth when they sleep. And I tried it for the first time last night. I did not have this fancy O-ring, so I used packing tape. I know that that's probably not what you recommend. And when I pulled it off this morning, I think I gave my upper lip a wax. But I put it from the nose down so that the sides were exposed, and I learned something really interesting. I put the tape on my mouth so that I would be cueing myself to nose breathe. And it's how I sleep. And I'm a fantastic sleeper. And I realized I sleep predominantly with my mouth closed. And my husband, on the other hand, he has this sound that he makes that goes, it drives me freaking crazy. I know it's sleep apnea. I also know that 1 billion people around the world have obstructive sleep apnea. 1 billion. How does this nose breathing improve even people's lives with obstructive sleep apnea?
Okay. So obstructive sleep apnea is when the person stops breathing for 10 seconds or more during sleep. That would be an apnea. Or a hypopnea is when there's a reduction in the flow of their breathing due to partial collapse of the airways, that their blood oxygen saturation drops down by about 3 or 4%. The problem with sleep apnea is that it arouses you from deep sleep, but it's very stressful. It's very stressful on the cardiovascular system. There are 4 characteristics in obstructive sleep apnea. It's not just the anatomy. So insomnia that we spoke about earlier on is one of them. So it's very important to be able to downregulate. Upper airway muscle recruitment, getting these muscles to do their job is very important. There's a therapy called myofunctional therapy that's excellent for that. Mouth closed with the tongue resting up in the roof of the mouth with good recruitment of the diaphragm helps to open up the airway. So you think of the typical middle-aged man. We're drinking a few beers. We're putting weight on the belly. This is impacting the movement of the diaphragm. We're now breathing more up our chest. This is reducing lung volume and the throat collapses more easily. Our diaphragm breathing muscle, as I said earlier, is connected with the brain, but the diaphragm is also connected with the upper airway dilator muscles in the throat. Oh. So coming back to mouth puffing, and the mouth closed is really important with obstructive sleep apnea. And there are a group of people with severe obstructive sleep apnea and people who may be obese as well. They're more prone to mouth puffing. You still need to allow them to mouth puff during sleep. And we were lucky with the design of the tape, the MyoTape, because it allows the mouth puffing. Whereas before that, we were using 3M 1-inch micropore tape, which is going right across the lips, but that doesn't allow mouth puffing, and that can make sleep apnea worse in some people.
Oh.
So I'm going to come back to sleep apnea with taping of the mouth. Tested in people with mild obstructive sleep apnea, just getting your mouth closed reduces the AHI, which is sleep apnea severity by 33%.
Wow.
So just by getting the mouth closed, that's not looking at how do you improve your breathing patterns. If you have somebody with obstructive sleep apnea and they bring nose breathing into their everyday life, they learn to slow down their breathing, they learn to have good recruitment of the diaphragm, all simple skills that you bring into your everyday life, that will help your sleep apnea. For moderate to severe, overall it helps when you get the mouth closed also. But for some people with moderate to severe, they need to be allowed to mouth puff. So whatever you use as support to get the lips together, make sure it allows you to mouth puff.
Got it. Well, I'm going to make sure to tape my husband's mouth with your tape, and I'm going to stop shoving him or pinching his nose when he goes poof, poof. Patrick, you are a gift to all of us. You have just given us all a free tool that we were born with to activate our natural intelligence, to lower our stress, to get better sleep, to be more present in our lives, and to learn how to access the profound power of breathing in and out of your nose, low and slow. I cannot wait to have you back on. We will link to all the resources in the show notes. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
My pleasure. Thanks very much, Mel.
My pleasure. Wasn't that incredible? I want to make sure to tell you, in case no one else does today, I love you. I believe in you, and I believe in your ability to change your life. And how cool is it that you and I now know how to use our own breathing to change our life for the better? All righty. I'll talk to you in a few days.